The objective of this video is to remind those who are not in class of how I'm going to grade your paper. I'm going to closely follow the marking scheme you have here. So basically, when I take your paper, I want to make sure it looks nice. I'll first look at all of this. I'll make sure you have a line spacing of 1.5. You have your font should be Arial. Let me use an example here. So if I have this paper, I want to make sure the font is Arial. The next thing I want to check is that the paragraph alignment is justified. So if I come here, you see this is not justified. The alignment is left aligned. So what I have to do is just click anywhere inside and come here and make sure I take justify. Click there, make sure I take justify. You can see the alignment is now justified. And then just make sure your page is numbered. Just closely follow what you have here. That's the first thing I'm going to take a look at. The second is I want to make sure you have an introduction. You can have a general introduction for the whole paper, or you can have an introduction for each of the perspectives. That is up to you. You can have one introduction and one conclusion for the whole paper, or you can have it for each perspective. I leave that to you. However, you should have just one thesis statement. So I want to make sure you have one thesis statement that states what you intend to do in your paper. So your thesis statement should cover what you intend to do in both perspectives. You simply state it and then you go on to show why your thesis statement is correct in your paper. So if I see a good introduction and a good thesis statement, you get all your marks. Now, I want to take a look at the in-text citations, even before I look at the other things. The in-text citations, how are you doing it? Now, some students, what they do is when they are writing their paper, they say article 1 says this, article 2 says this. That is not an acceptable writing style. That will definitely get you to fail your paper. You have to simply state what the papers say. For example, take a look here. It says recent research underscores the significance of blah, blah, blah. Scholars argue. Then you present the paper that supports whatever you've said. You do not say the article from Shapiro or the blah, blah, blah paper, then you write this. No, you just put the idea and you show that Shapiro 2021 supports it. Same thing here, for example, it said, moreover, the rise in circular economy principles in international trade fosters waste reduction, blah, blah, blah. Then you show that these authors, De Mello and Soledad, 2022, they support that idea. So if I'm looking for this idea, I know I have to come to this article. Here we are basically using documents from international organizations and we are using APA in-text. So you don't go about saying the article, then you give the name of the article from United Nations Conference on Trade says this. No, that's not a good writing style. So it's important for you to look at this writing style. You simply put out the ideas in a way that flows, and then you show where I can find the ideas you've put in. Okay? That's extremely important. That's the way to perform well. So you make sure that your in-text citations are well used. Now, when we say appropriate, more is better, and we say quantity, we want you to use, well, in the instructions it mentioned the minimum, so I will encourage you to use as many as you can. Don't kill yourself, but more is better than less. So if you use it and you use the right format, then you should get all your marks. Then once I do that, I will also look at the presentation. Even before I come here, do you have a title page with the relevant information? How many pages do you have in your thing? And after you've done that, I also want to take a look at the paragraph size. That's also important to me. Once I do that, I will come and take a look at your list of references. Here it says at least 8 good sources. Use the proper format. So the proper format is the APA format, and APA requires you use hanging indentation. It's very important for you to use hanging indentation. Let me rapidly show you what hanging indentation is. So if I have, let's say, I'll just break this rapidly into different things so that I can use hanging indentation in a way that makes sense for you to understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's say here I have my different references. I will capitalize that. Okay, hanging indentation, I simply need to select it. So let's say this is my list of references. What I'll do is I'll go to paragraph, and under indentation, I'll go to special. Under special, I'll click and take hanging, then I will OK. And now you see this is your hanging indentation. So you can see each of the references. Now that is not all. After you've done the hanging indentation, you now need to make sure this is sorted. In other words, you need to arrange this in alphabetical order or in ascending order of magnitude. So I'll click the sort from A to Z. We want to sort by paragraph, and we want it to be ascending. I'll just say OK. Then you'll see it's arranged in ascending order, A and so on, all the way to that. So that is how you achieve that. It's very important you follow that. If you have the right syntax for your references and you've arranged it you've used hanging indentation, arrange it in ascending order, then you'll have all the things. So whatever I'm telling you, I encourage you, take time and grade your paper yourself. Just make sure you fulfill all the requirements, then you will be happy. After I've done all of that, then I will come and then I will start reading your paper. I will look at the arguments because I want to see at least one argument per paragraph, and then I'll check each paragraph to see the different issues you've covered and how you've done it. Now, we say logical organization, so your paragraphs should flow. The way you argue your points, you declare things, you support it, you argue it, and so on. Okay? Make sure your argumentation is clear. Now, in addition to that, I also want to see where you use at least you have to use data. So for the two perspectives, I want to see you using data for one of the arguments for one of your perspective. Let me rephrase it. So each of the perspectives for one of the issues you are covering, you should use data. We've done some exercises where you see how to go and get data and include it in your paper. So I want you to check for at least one of your arguments, you should use data to support it. In other words, your paper should have at least 2 charts. Okay, you should have 2 charts, not charts you've copied and pasted, but charts where you've gone and gotten data, plotted the data to support your argument. Your paper is not about the charts. The chart is just there to support one of your arguments. Okay, let's say the first perspective is economic. So I want one chart that supports one of the issues you are covering under that perspective. And if the other perspective is sociological, I want another chart that supports one of the issues you are covering. Of course, for each perspective, you are covering several issues, but just show me you can use a chart to support at least one of the issues you are covering for each of the perspectives. Okay, I think I've covered each of everything we have here. So make sure you yourself sit down at the end and you go through this marking scheme. Correct your introduction, check your list of references, check the presentation, check the in-text citation, and then make sure this is well done. Then you yourself can give the grade you estimate your paper will have, and you will see at the end if we are very close. My experience is that students generally can, if they take time to grade their papers, they are pretty close to what I will give them. Okay, have fun, and I will see you in class on Tuesday.